So here we are on a Monday afternoon, and it's a nice Monday afternoon. It's an Easter Monday afternoon. How's the weather and how's the political temperature down in Donegal, Pat?
Yes, and the unoccupied part of this country, Jude. It's lovely today, Jude. Actually, the sun's shining, and as we speak, it was lovely this morning, and then it went grey, but now it's back. The sun's out, and it's lovely, actually.
It's a bit cold still. Bit cold.
Oh,
I was out for a walk. The wind was, it was a reasonable breeze, but it wasn't a summer breeze.
It's not. No, it wasn't. No, there's actually, apparently, we're going to have a chill for the next couple of days, and I'm not sure after. But Jude, we're someone when you sit out and at 8:30 and it's still bright, it's grand.
We're nearly there. We're nearly
there.
Okay, let's tackle the various topics that have drawn your attention and mine as well. And you in particular started with that interview on the Late Late Show of the Derry girls, one of the Derry girls, and Ryan Tubridy. I didn't see it actually, but tell us what happened.
I know, it was an interesting thing. I think basically it's what I'm talking about, Jude. There's all this woke culture and what do you call it, cancel culture, and about Anyway, here's the background. Jamie Lee O'Donnell is one of the stars of Derry Girls.
Which one is she? She's the tall one, sort of.
She's the sort of the tallish one.
Aye.
And she's the only one, as far as I remember, that's actually born in Derry. Now, I could be wrong. There might be another one. But she basically, last week, Derry Girls was back on Channel 4, and the star attraction was Liam Neeson, did a major cameo role on it, and it got a lot of publicity. And the Late Late Show built it up for 2 or 3 days. Jamie Lee O'Donnell will be talking to Ryan Tubridy on come Friday night. So on. Right, fine. And out she come, first guest of the evening, and everything was going along swimmingly, and they were getting on like a house on fire. And suddenly, Ryan says, "By the way, Jamie Lee, what age are you?" No, it was in the context they were discussing about the fact that this is a schoolgirl and so on. And for some reason, she took a real hump, went pretty spiky pretty quickly. She says, now, one of the papers said, she said it was a very misogynistic question. As far as I remember hearing, she says, no, that is quite a misogynistic question to ask. And there was a real tension because knowing this Me Too generation and be accused of sexism in the wake of Will Smith's thing at the Oscars,
yes,
it can have a sort of a real dampening of the conversation. And you could see Tubridy was rattled by the fact of getting accused so quickly. Now, Jude, here's the thing. Had she said, in my opinion, look, Ryan, you shouldn't ask a woman her age and come on and laugh and sort of said, but once you bring in a loaded, weaponized term like misogynistic, that's an irrational or contemptuous hatred or whatever, fear or contempt for women. Now, to accuse somebody who's talking to you very friendly and, it was the use of the word misogynistic that caught my attention. And it obviously rattled because it got quite a lot of coverage on the media and on social media. And Jude, I thought to myself, I detest this whole thing of, I hate Trump and people like that. But you sort of say, this sort of thing has given the right-wing people like him ammunition, because this was definitely a snowflake moment as far as I'm concerned. It was a ridiculous, over-the-top reaction.
Maybe it's hard to know. As you say, the mistake she made was in using the term misogynistic instead of, as you say, saying, "Oh no, you shouldn't be asking a woman her age."
Yeah.
I think it was. I didn't see it, but it sounds as if it was her response, the words she used, rather than anything else. No, by and large, Pat, I know I'm in danger of classing myself alongside the Northern Ireland women's manager. Remember, he said that women they're more emotional when they lose or somebody scores. But would it be true to say that women are more guarded about their age than men?
But hold on. I keep wanting to put this in context. A woman called Sarah Vine, she was Michael Gove's ex-wife. She's a columnist in the Daily Mail. She said last Saturday, one of the Derry girls is called Nicola Coughlin, and she's 35. And Vine made the very same point, or went into the same territory as Tubridy. She says, how realistic is it for somebody who's 35 to be playing a 17-year-old schoolgirl, running around with a uniform on, and she's 35, and she's letting on she's 17? Dude, in other words, she was saying, and no one accused her of misogyny. She made the exact same point. Now, the only difference, I presume, was Tubridy asked somebody live, and by the way, what age? But he was asking in the context of how much longer can you realistically play a 17-year-old?
That's a fair enough question, actually. In that he was wanting to know her age so that he could make this judgment about how suitable it was. Actually, I never had any problem with. I haven't really watched Derry Girls much, but the little bit I saw, I didn't buy. I thought maybe they're a wee bit old, but it didn't interfere at all. But I think there are questions that I think men in particular cannot ask women, or shouldn't, if they want to go on living.
Jude, I take your point. In fact, I don't think he should have asked the question, in fact, and so on. But that's and I don't think you. But my point is, the question was by far the less offence than the response to it.
Yeah. Why though? Well, okay, fair enough. I agree with you completely. I think she went over the top. I suspect she was just a bit annoyed with him, and the easiest word that came to her mind was a misogynist.
Yeah. But something I think, and it's a bigger issue as well. Everybody's become sort of far right or far left, and if you watch the Republican Party in America, it's now they've gone extreme right, but they keep pointing out things like this here. This is how the woke left is doing, and here I thought, here's more ammunition for all those intolerant people, because it was, in my opinion. Now, by the way, I made this point on social media, and a couple of women have come back and said he shouldn't ask the question and so on. Jude, I accept that the basis that maybe it would have been better had he not asked the question.
Well, hold on, Pat. I think that's a key thing we should talk very briefly. I don't want to get stuck on this because we've other stuff to cover. Are there certain questions nobody should ask in a public sphere anyway of a woman? A woman in the public eye.
I don't think he should, politically, astuteness or strategy, he shouldn't have. But I don't think there's any sort of prohibition on asking the question. And I don't think there should be.
Pat,
but there shouldn't be, Jude.
Okay. Do you think that we should be able to ask women what age they are?
Yeah, Jude. People have asked me what age I am.
But you're a man. That's my point.
But Jude, Jude, with respect, that is bollocks. Does it matter? I'm a man, and at my age, does it matter? Jude, had Tubridy made some remark about her figure or her face or her appearance or something, I could understand that reaction. If he had about her bust or something, I could understand a reaction. But he said he was discussing the fact that here's a 30-plus-year-old woman playing a 17-year-old girl. In the context of that, I was going, to be accused of misogyny. And by the way, it was obviously Tubridy was rattled because he said something, I see where this is going. And he changed the subject totally.
Well, I have to conceal my delight in hearing that Tubridy was rattled. I'm not.
Well, he was rattled in the sense that he said he went straight off that line of questioning. But I thought was, because on Saturday morning, I just happened to read Sarah Vine's comment about your one Nicola Coughlan, and she made exactly the same point. Like, here's somebody 35 playing a 17-year-old. How sustainable is that? But there was no accusations of misogyny in her against her comment.
It's a fair question, and I don't think the fact that you're a man or Ryan Tubridy is a man should prevent him from asking. But I tell you something I've learned the hard way. There are certain questions you don't ask. You don't ask a woman her weight.
No. I don't think you should ask a man.
Wait, if I asked you, Pat, if I asked you your weight, I don't think you would say, how dare you, how dare you.
I couldn't give a shit.
If I asked a woman her weight, certainly in a public sphere like that, for TV or, in an interview, they'd be really, I think most women would be very, very annoyed.
Jude, and I do think
am I right in that?
Absolutely. But I do think that, now that's personal, but I don't think...
But so is your age.
No, Jude, in the context in which it was being asked, this is a woman, I'm repeating myself, in a particular role, and it was in the context of that. He wasn't asked her, he'd given away state secrets. And the only thing about it afterwards, some people pointed, look, but it was quite obvious that he didn't really give him monkeys because he could have looked up her age beforehand. Obviously, he hadn't.
Yeah. I thought he might be right. He might have thought that it would add a little edge to the
Or
interview, but he didn't
alternatively,
expect to get
that he meant nothing by it. He never even thought about it until the night on.
Yeah. It's a bit. Questions are strange things. I think there are areas you can't go into now, and it annoys me sometimes. You've heard me talk about this before. There's certain aspects of the Troubles or victims of the Troubles or people that you just simply cannot touch on because the popular will is that, you see it a certain way. I'll give you a quick example. It's nothing to do with this now. There's a guy called Donald Kennedy, writes my blog frequently.
Yeah, I've seen his
name. He did a piece on, he did a short little piece on the Ukrainian situation. And it was, I told him it's totally counter to the way most people interpret it. He was giving out about the clown who was the president, Zelensky, and so on. Yeah. And he was saying, he was really essentially a puppet of America and so on. Now, I said to him, you're swimming against the very strong current there. And he says, yeah, that's right, but that's the way I see it. Now, the way people reacted to that, they didn't react by saying, I disagree with you for this reason. And, they were saying, oh, this rubbish shouldn't be allowed. Yeah. What is this doing on their blog? What's the point in having this? That really irritates me. That people, if you don't sing the same song most other people are singing, you must be unspeakable and we shouldn't have you around.
Yeah. That's my point. I think we're in danger of, and I'm serious about this, intolerance is now becoming a bigger problem on the right as on the left as on the right. Yeah. You're now like a friend of mine or my brother actually said there's about 3 words: misogyny, racism, and anti-Semitism are 3 weaponized words in every conversation. You can't if you want to shut down a conversation or a legitimate debate, accuse somebody of being a misogynist, an anti-Semite, or a racist. And those words are now loaded. And that doesn't give free play to people to be racist, misogynist, or anti-Semite. But there are such a thing as but should get involved on a debate and Jerusalem Post. And if you as much as criticize Israel, it just happened to me millions of times. So I know what I'm talking about in this one. The first one is just thrown out. You're an anti-Semite. What do you call it? On the day that the Israeli embassy moved to, the American moved their embassy to Jerusalem, the Israeli shot dead 52 people and shot $1,200. And yet, if you criticize that, you're an anti-Semite. That's how ridiculous this is.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should move on.
In a way, it pushes people towards the right.
Yeah.
Because that's the sort of knee-jerk reaction I would tend to have as well. If that's the attitude you're taking, well, bugger you. And that's unfair too. Okay, we certainly milked that one well. Let's move on to Arlene. We haven't left this when I think about it. Arlene Foster. What was it that you were saying that Arlene Foster?
Arlene last week, Jim Wells. She accused Jim Wells of. Jim Wells left the DUP and went and said he would be declaring for the TUV and his support would be for the TUV candidate there.
Yeah.
Arlene came out with a real heavy dinger of a tweet saying Jim didn't get his own way and he threw his toys out of the pram. She says his attitude on this occasion, because the DUP apparently has picked a woman there. I think her name is Barbara Forsyth, or anyway, Diane Forsyth, I think is her name. And she says, in the same way Jim couldn't deal with the fact that the DU picked Diane Forsyth, he could never deal with the fact or accept the fact that me, a female, was leader of the party. And I thought to myself, here we go again. I thought here's really where I was going with this. The DUP are losing support on the left wing.
Yep.
They're losing support on the right wing. And now Ireland's coming out and saying they're a party that's against women. So they must be hemorrhaging a few votes on the old female side as well. So Jesus, hey, Sir Geoffrey must be going to bed at night wondering where am I going to get the votes?
Well, I don't know. It does seem when you say all that, and there's lots of other examples, that they will take a pounding in this election. But at the same time, I think it's still the hardline home of many sort of unionists, because you could say, they'd vote for, if they're hardline, they'll vote for TUV. No, they won't. TUV's been around a long time and they haven't voted for it. And there were lots of hardline voters around, unionist voters, but most of them didn't vote for the TUV. So I don't see a mass exodus towards Jim Allister. Likewise, I don't see a mass exodus towards, well, obviously, there won't be a mass exodus of hardline unionists towards the UUP. So I think the DUP might do better than we're.
I tend to agree with you. You know, the DUP in a way reminds me of Fianna Fáil in the South. It took a long, long time to break that sort of chain, or to break that causal link. People and people in Northern Ireland, in the occupied country, part of the country, have voted DUP, the unionists, for a long time. And while they might be pissed off at it and sort of dislike what it's doing, I think it might be too early to say that chain is broken yet.
You mentioned in your correspondence with me, you mentioned the fact that Edwin Poots had said, and this got a lot of airtime at the time. He said that, she's a leader, but she will, I mean, her big, I don't know how he phrased it exactly.
I said her main, she might be the leader of the party, but her main responsibility as a wife and mother.
Well, you see, I know what Poots was trying to do.
Yeah.
But actually, you know, I hate to say it, but there's a truth in it. Yeah. Because somebody said to me, my son said to me, see, when you come to die, do you think you'll be saying, oh God, I wish I'd spent more time in the office?
Yeah.
You know, you won't. You won't. No. It'll be, I wish I'd spent more time with my children. I wish I'd spent more time with my wife. I wish I'd valued my family more highly. In the end, that's the important thing, is it not? I mean, you're more likely to see your family at your funeral. Well, you won't see anybody at your funeral, but at your funeral, there's more likely to be.
Glad you corrected yourself there.
There's more likely to be your family rather than colleagues, even, let alone.
Absolutely, Jude. Absolutely.
So, you know, Poots has a point.
I got a point, but no, but you know, someone. I think what Arlene would have said. He wouldn't have said that to a man, that your first responsibility as a father and a homemaker.
I think you're right there. You're right. That's the point of division. He wouldn't have said to a man, and it should apply every bit as much to a man.
A man, exactly.
I mean, a father has got the same
responsibilities. Yeah.
Maybe again, that's because traditionally, and the woman bears the child and stuff like that, you know. But I think in a way that was a bit misogynist.
By the way, just to follow on from it, no, the way Sinn Féin, there's 2 points I want to make. Sinn Féin, you know, has got a female leader, and it doesn't seem to be quite the same problem, which I thought it would have been. No, now there was a hard man organisation for years, like coming out of conflict, and a lot of guys who had been involved in other things that they shouldn't have been, possibly, and so on. Right. So Mary Lou is in charge of it, and it doesn't seem to be an issue anymore. Secondly, Mary Lou, noticed on Thursday night, she did the interview on The View, not Michelle O'Neill. So somebody was making a point there. And the third thing, there's another point, I knew there was another point a bit back. Mary Lou came out with a really interesting one. Remember, Martin McGuinness said that in the event of after the election, there'd be joint first minister and so on. Mary Lou's taken that off the table. She said, and I know that Martin didn't get either much support or respect for the offer, so it was no longer an issue. So basically, I think Sinn Féin have gone a wee bit. So if we take a top spot, we will be taking first minister. So there's a change in tone there, isn't there?
Well, I think I heard that. I noticed that myself. Well, I watched it later on. I watched the recording of it. I think she said it because there is let's face it, there's a considerable number of Republicans and nationalists who would really feel it sweet if, in fact, Sinn Féin was to take first minister. And, you know, if they were then after a month or two to say, okay, well, maybe we get joint first minister, I think people then would be okay with that. But I do think they would really like to have that happen, because there would be such a surge of hope in terms of a reunited Ireland to have, you know.
And the other factor, the corollary is the lack of generosity from the unions when asked would they serve as deputy first minister. And I think their attitude is, no, we either top dog or we're. I think that is. poisoned the well and nationalists big time.
Yeah.
In other words, we have accepted without query or question the deputy first role since the formation of this thing. And you guys now, even hypothetically, will not even agree to accept, should you not be the top dog.
Okay, well, hey, tell me this, Pat. Do you think that will act as a sort of a goad, the same way we had the crocodile remark was a goad? Will this thing where they will not, they have refused to say that they will serve as deputy first minister if the figures show it? Do you think that'll galvanize the?
Well, they haven't used it so far, but the first time it got trotted out was last Thursday night about the fact that I presume, Jude, there's two parts, your part and mine, about you're right about, I'd say, a lot of nationalists saying, wait a minute, we have waited a long time for this, and symbolically it's important. Now, what we do down the road, we might sort of agree to share later on. The second thing is, every time a unionist leader, be it Doug Beattie, Jeffrey Donaldson, etc., is asked, will you serve as a deputy first minister? Jim Allister has said absolutely no way. So in other words, unless we're hegemonic leaders, to hell with you guys.
That's right. It runs right across unionism too, which was really quite damning for them. So I would say that Mary Lou had that in mind. She wasn't going to come out and say, right through unionism as this anti-democratic streak. She just made it clear that they were going to call it first minister. Whoever was got the biggest party is going to be the first minister.
Well, she basically said the offer was off the table. That's what I thought it was on.
Yeah. Well, fair play. You see, a lot of people, the time that the crocodile remark was made, if that hadn't been used, the fact is, the most people were really glad to see the assembly. Most Republicans and nationalists were glad to see the assembly pulled down because they really felt that the unionists were getting away with bloody murder. That they had the RHI scandal and all the other scandals.
And they weren't playing ball. And the Irish Language Act was
they were more than ready for an election. And boy, then the sort of the spark that lit the animal was the crocodile remark. Well, let's hope that I shouldn't say that. I should be more neutral, shouldn't I? But let's say I'd be quietly pleased if, in fact, that works. Okay, let's move on. Rwanda, and Boris's wonderful Devil's Island plan of sending all the people, the immigrants, refugees who make their way across the British Channel, the Dover Channel, whatever it's called. What the hell is that called? English Channel, is it?
What English Channel?
English Channel. They'll all be sent off to Rwanda, 4,000 miles away. Fair enough. Doesn't want to take them in. Rwanda's glad to have them. So what's the problem?
Well, no, what really caught my attention was Archbishop of Justin Welby said this would not stand the judgment of God. He said they were basically subcontracting out their problems. And he said sending people 4,000 miles away was a sort of immoral and unethical. Now, by the way, Jude, there's a guy on Graham Marks, I think might have been his name.
Yes.
And I think that was his name. He said quite obvious that the Archbishop doesn't understand, and as well as that, these people who are condemning it should come up with a solution and so on. Jude, that's not the point. Jude, every time, I think I mentioned this on Friday, Jude. Years ago, I read a book called The Fatal Shore by a guy, an Australian art critic called Robert Hughes. It took him 10 years to write it. But he said basically Britain solved its problem. When the industrialization came along and there was child prostitutes and gin mills and all this. So all these criminals, there was hangings and floggings and transportation. This strikes me as the equivalent for 2022. Here are these asylum seekers and we don't want them and all the rest of it. So bugging them off 4,000 miles to a place, by the way, Jude, I would love to know how seriously ready Rwanda is for an influx of, By the way, the last thing too, Jude, I should mention, Priti Patel used a ministerial direction. The civil servants refused to go along with this policy. They forced her into making a ministerial direction because they're saying we're not going to be held responsible for how this works out. Not least how much it's going to cost.
Well, I actually don't think that. I think that Johnson doesn't believe that a lot of people will be taken and sent to there. He figures the idea is to scare them off or to scare off the guys who are organizing.
Or to deflect from Partygate.
Of course, distraction, big time. I'd say that's probably the main reason, Pat, is the distraction. However, I have to have a little smile, quiet smile, shall I say, when I hear Justin Welby saying, this isn't moral, you know. For God's sake, when did morality ever enter the concerns of the Tory party? What are you where is he living? Like when he says, "Oh no, not of this one," because that would be immoral.
You didn't see the guy on the one show last? I think it was Wednesday night, and he was on to talk about Richard Nixon, and he says, "This is a crook surrounded by incompetence and lies." And he said, "Oh, sorry, that's Boris Johnson."
This seat is already taken. Very good. I like it. Okay, let's move on. We used a lot of time talking about that first one. Okay, Man City versus Liverpool. You were very taken by
I just wanted to throw out, and you know that we talked about it last Monday after what was one of the best games I'd ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah.
And Saturdays I sat and watched the game, the FA Cup semi-final. Yeah. And I was, there is such, you said it the other week, there is such a great thing, Jude. You sit and watch, like it was 3-0 at half time, and then Manchester City come. Jude, I was sitting at the edge of my seat towards the end of the match.
Well,
it's great stuff.
It wasn't just a game, though, Pat. It wasn't a game. You're right that it was exciting towards the end, but it was only about the last 10 minutes that Man City began to threaten them. I found I think in many ways Jurgen Klopp is the superior manager.
Absolutely.
I mean, I really love Pep Guardiola. I think he's so cool for a start, My God, he's cool. And he really is a genius, like he is trains or, worked with so many teams right across Europe that have been outstanding, starting with Barcelona. But at the same time, Klopp seems to have the fix on him. Anyway, he lost. Yes, it's good. I think it impressed me is this, Pat. I know these guys are getting big money, but it's clear that it's more than the money with them. There's a fierceness of concentration that is required. And they know that if they don't concentrate fully, they'll screw things up for everybody else. And that sort of makes it really edgy. And that's what
absolutely
delighted.
Well, they're probably the two best teams on the planet right now. But hey, Dr. Collins, one thing remember at the outside it announced that would be a minute's silence for the 96 people killed in who died in Hillsborough. The Man City supporters started to chant. The referee, I can't remember his name, he's quite a famous referee, after about 15, 20 seconds, blew the whistle. And he said afterwards he blew it because they were chanting coming from, and it was disrespectful.
Right, yeah. I didn't hear it. The BBC or the ITV was clever and didn't let us hear it. Yeah, it was the BBC. They've always done that.
Oh no, Jude, you could hear it. You could hear it.
Could you? I didn't hear it.
I heard it. I definitely heard it.
You've got a sharper way of hearing than me now. So, are you outraged by that?
Jude, I thought it was tasteless. No, there was somebody made the remark. Manchester City can buy players, but they can't buy class. I think it was the other way around. Liverpool supporters, for many things, have always respected other clubs. I thought it was just cheap and nasty. Hey, Jude, 96 people dead, and it's football. You'd think the very least they could do was for a minute's silence to remember 96 people who died at a football match.
Yeah, well, listen, Pat, I think you have to take that in a context. When footballer fans are at a game against really sharp rivals, they'll use any weapon, any insult they can think of that'll annoy the other lot. And I mean, that's the basis of the racist sort of stuff they used to shout until half their own team became black, and then they sort of get confused at that point. But they will reach for the thing they think will really rile. And I mean, for decades, Man United opponents, the guys making the sounds of airplanes. Yeah, that's what they do that regularly. In one way, sort of way, it's funny.
It's not something you would be recommending to your children as a way to live.
As I say, it's black humor, but it just shows you the extent to which these guys will go, and always have. I don't think it's just the Man City fans. I would think too that the Liverpool fans would be capable of it. Although I do, having said that, I think there's something special about the Liverpool fans. They always stand behind their team, regardless of, even when they're losing. They'll sing, you know, we'll support you evermore. They are
a different breed, and they've got a different mentality.
That's true. We're blessed, actually, that both those teams really are blessed. And don't forget that there were Kevin De Bruyne wasn't playing most of that game as well.
He didn't play at all.
Did he? Yeah, that's right.
I think he is the thing that makes Manchester City. He's the catalyst that makes them different.
Oh, he is some player. Yeah. Okay, that's here's something that I noticed there, Pat. We'll take another 5 minutes or so. The band parades have started today. Did you know that?
Yes.
50 band parades today. 30 of them apprentice boys. Lest we forget, they're on the road to nowhere. No,
God knows
where on the road. Yeah. Here's my question for you. How did Derry fix it? Derry fixed the marching band's problem. I mean, it was the apprentice boys that sparked off the Battle of the Bogside. How the hell did they fix it?
Well, it had been done for a long time. There was negotiating the Bogside residents group and the apprentice boys. They took a long time, and one of the main guys was Gary Van O'Doherty, a local businessman.
Oh yeah.
I think he was sort of representing sort of the middleman, sort of the facilitator. It took a long time, but basically it was a compromise. Look, if you respect this, we'll respect that, and so on. This sort of thing that you can just march through the Bogside and a coat trailing exercise, and expect us to sit back in that. Now, see the city centre, that's shared space. We'll respect you if you respect us, and so on. And they came to a compromise that seems to work for everybody. And the apprentice boys, I don't think, lost anything. And the Bogside residents didn't lose anything. The old days, they used to throw pennies down from the walls, as a mark of disrespect here, and Jude, they did more than that. There was sometimes they were using the walls as toilets and stuff like that, and so on. Total disrespect. And anyway, they had. I remember it was way back in the early 90s. There were discussions went on for a long time, but anyway, the compromise was reached that both sides would respect each other's rights, and both sides give. Jude, remember what's it? Is it Balai? I never got this. The Orange Bands on the 12th of July came to this village, Balai. I think there was, I'm using an example. As far as I remember, there's 200 houses in Balai. 199 of them were Catholic. Yet, the Orange Band stopped at Balai, marched through the village. The bus followed them, and they got back on the bus at the other side of the village. Explain to me the raison d'etre of doing that.
Yeah, well, they would say we have a right to march on the Queen's Highway. That's the long and short of it. We have the right to march on the Queen's Highway. You didn't build this road. You don't own this road. This is public road, and we're going to march where we will annoy you most. We're back to the sounds of the airplanes with the Man United rivals,
Yeah. Richard, Richard, would the sort of Bobby Sands Memorial Band be allowed to march through Portadown?
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
Would Bobby Sands Memorial Band be allowed to march through Ballymena? Would a German band be allowed to march through the Jewish quarter of London?
Yeah. I take your point. Pat. So there must be a reason. It's very odd too, because Derry was a place which lit the spark at the beginning of the Troubles, and yet it was Derry as the first place to fix things. The Gavahi Road was going on. And while other places are still, are there any places that are still a problem? I wonder. Have they all been resolved?
No,
Jerry Adams always saying there's just a few, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, the Gervahi Road was the last big one, and that was massive because it was reaching the stage like that was just pure sort of coat trailing. There's no need. Like they said, this was traditional ground, and sure, 300 years ago, a lot of these places were green fields. Things changed.
Yeah. Of course, don't forget there was the circular band. Remember the band that marched outside St. Patrick's Church in the middle of Belfast? Playing the famine song.
I know that.
No, that's the Slip John B. We were playing. kind of funny, really. And somebody said, you know, them marching in a circle really was symbolic of where they were going.
But sure, one year they gave undertakings to the Parades Commission that they wouldn't play any sectarian songs.
Yeah.
It was at St. Patrick's Cathedral, whatever they call the cathedral. And the minute they were going through the cathedral, they started singing, you know, the crappy boy or something. What do you know that one? They're up to your necks and fiending blood. Whatever the hell that one is, you know.
Yeah. Oh well, sure. Little amuses and is innocent. Final one I want to do is about, did you know that there are United Ireland Easter eggs?
No.
Well, it is a fact. Conor Murphy, I think, was shown in a video, and Jerry Adams has certainly done a video. Maybe Jerry did it last year, I'm not sure. But anyway, here's what the thing says. Easter is also a time for eggs. And this year, building on the success of last year's project, Sinn Féin has produced this beautiful United Ireland Easter egg, which has been handmade in County Kerry. They are talking about Easter eggs here, okay? If you want to get your hands on this limited edition in Uniting Ireland Easter egg, then contact us and we will arrange for a local delivery.
Jesus.
I think that's
very good. I'll tell you something.
I like one of those. I like Easter eggs. The only thing is, it's symbolic if you broke it, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
Eating a United Ireland.
The partition of Ireland, bang. But Sinn Féin getting very efficient.
I think
not only can they make Easter eggs, but if you order one, they will arrange local delivery.
Well, I think it would depend where they would not deliver one in Clough or in these places. Jeffrey has said, by the way, this is the last thing I'll say. He has a quotation from him. He says that if Sinn Féin are voted for in this election, and if they become the first minister, they will immediately introduce this divisive border poll plan. He says the DUP have got a 5-point plan. I can't remember what it is, but he says they have it.
I remember.
And he says Sinn Féin will have this divisive border poll plan. Does he not remember that the Good Friday Agreement was built on this? They had the plan before Sinn Féin, you know.
And by the way, the divisive border plan, we have had the divisive border, never mind the plan.
Post hoc propter. There's some Latin term that says, you know, because some preceded it, it doesn't mean that it was the reason for it. Anyway, I think we've picked enough people today, Pat, eh?
That's enough.
Anybody, we didn't miss anybody, did we?
No, not as far as no.
Because we could always go back and sort them if we needed to.
I'm sure there'll be a few people wanting to sort us as well.
Okay,
good
Pat.
Luck,
enjoy the remainder of your Easter. Okay. Well, your Easter, Lily.
Thank you. Bye, Jude.